So in the last session, we discussed regarding the physical architecture, we discussed regarding the logical architecture, we discussed all that part. Now we will be starting the discussion with the directory. How do we create directories? What is Azure Active Directory? What is on-premise Active Directory? We'll talk about all that part. Right. So if in case we are starting the journey with Azure, obviously we would like to, like, whenever any employee joins the organization issues an identity to the employee, right? To their people, they issues the identity. Now, if we are moving towards cloud, how we are going to provide the identity in cloud? How we would be able to provide that identity in cloud? So we can do that with the help of Azure Active Directory. We would be able to do that with the help of Azure Active Directory. So there is something called as Azure Active Directory. People also refer this as Azure AD. People also refer this as AAD, one and the same thing, right? One and the same thing with different names or short forms, you can say. Now, question is, how are we going to get this Azure Active Directory? So how do we start the journey with Azure? We start the journey with Azure by creating an Azure account, right? It could be your personal account, it could be your corporate account. Guys, hope you're able to hear me fine. Please confirm if you're able to hear me fine.
Yeah, yes.
Wonderful, thank you. So how do we start the journey? By creating the Azure account. Now let's say v-10 JISI at outlook.com is my Azure account. That is the Azure account. v-10 JISI at outlook.com. Maybe it is my Azure account. Earlier, what was happening is, as soon as you create the Azure account, Microsoft will provide you a default directory. That will be the name of the directory. And it will provide us a domain as well. Why it is providing us a domain? Whenever we create an identity, we always get an identity like this: username at domain name. For example, let's say if I join Facebook, so maybe Facebook will give me an identity jitin at facebook.com. So username at domain name. That is how we get the identity, right? That is how we get the identity: username at domain name, right? Username at domain name. Now, how we will get the domain? Right? How we will get the domain? So let's see, how can we get the domain? Whatever is your Azure account, it used to remove the special characters from the Azure account. Whatever is our Azure account, it will remove the special characters from the Azure account. What are the special characters in this Azure account? Hyphen, at, and dot. It will remove that. So domain will become like this: v, hyphen will be removed, 10 JISI, at will be removed, outlook dot on microsoft.com. It will always provide us a domain at on microsoft.com, right? It will always provide us a domain at on microsoft.com. So if we have got the domain, can we create the users? Absolutely, we can create the users. Let's say the name of my user is test. So what will be the complete username? Test at v10 JISI outlook dot on microsoft.com. This will be the complete name, right? This will become the complete name.
So our login ID will be the domain, right? Our mail ID. Login ID and the dot on microsoft.com.
Absolutely correct. This will be a login ID. This will
Yeah.
be a user's login ID. Means, see, We cannot share this account to everyone. v-10jis at outlook.com. We cannot share this account to everyone. So just
Right.
like we create the users in on-premise, these users we are creating in Azure, right? For example, let's say I'm hiring one person with the name Nitin. So this will be the ID the person will get. Now, what this person can do, what Nitin can do, it can go to portal.azure.com and it can log in with these credentials. We would be able to log in with this credentials, this username, and whatever password we are going to set. So the person would be able to log in with these credentials into Azure portal, right? Into Azure portal, the person would be able to log in. So absolutely correct. These are like the identities we are creating. See, let me show you
Further, we
here.
can customize. Further, we can customize this domain name, right?
Yeah, we will see how can we customize this. So I think what you are trying to ask is maybe let's say if we have hired a person with the name Sandeep, so maybe we would like to have like this Sandeep at facebook.com, right?
Yes, yes,
Or
yes.
maybe Rahul at yahoo.com or whatever the organization name, HCL.com, google.com, microsoft.com. Yeah, we can customize this. We will talk about this as well, how the customization will happen. We'll talk about this. So this is my Azure account. Now in this Azure account, let me log into the default directory that we spoke about. So here I have got a default directory. I'm logging into the default directory now. So I'm logged into the default directory. Now, which service we need to use? Azure Active Directory. So maybe you can type it here, whatever service you want to use, you can type here Azure Active Directory. So this is Azure Active Directory. We can click on this. That is the Azure Active Directory. When we go to Azure Active Directory, now we can see here, it says overview. In overview, it will give us a name, the domain name, everything we will get. Right? See, this is the name. This is the name, default directory. This is the primary domain, v10gisi outlook.onmicrosoft.com. This is the tenant ID, right? Two directories can have the same name. Maybe my directory has a name default directory. Your directory may have a name default directory too. But this tenant ID is always a unique number. No two directories can have the same tenant ID. So it's a unique number allocated to every directory. Now on the left hand side, we can see users. So if we would like to create the users, we can click on users. And from here, we would be able to create the users. So maybe I can say new user. Let's say I would like to create a user, let's say with the name Avenger, right? So maybe I can say Avenger and the domain name we are getting is v10gisi outlook.onmicrosoft.com. Right? So I can give it a name, whatever name we are giving, whatever first name, whatever last name, whether you would like to automatically generate the password or you want to create the password on your own, whatever you want, right? You want this user to be a part of some group. Do you want to assign some roles to this user? What is the location? This user will be based out in US, China, India, Hong Kong, Afghanistan, right? What is the job title, department, company name, manager name, and we can say create. A user will be created. So here we can see a user has been created here with the name Avenger. Right? If you click on this user, this is what we called as UPN, user principal name. Avenger at v10gisi outlook.onmicrosoft.com is referred as UPN, user principal name. Now what you can do, you can go to portal.azure.com and you can log in with these credentials, this username and whatever password we have set, we can log in with these credentials, right? That's how we would be able to create the users in Azure. The domain that we are getting is we are getting this domain v10gisi outlook.onmicrosoft.com. So let's say there is an organization maybe with the name XYZ, right? Or let's say there is I'm starting my own organization with the name jitin.com, or I would like to use my own domain jitin.com. So obviously I don't want to use this Microsoft domain. I want to create users like maybe testing at jitin.com, testing at jitin.com, or whatever organization you are working for. They would like to create the user on their own username, maybe abc at hcl.com or xyz at adobe.com or yahoo.com, whatever. How can we achieve this? First of all, you need to have a domain, or your organization need to have a domain. Let's say I have my own domain jitin.com. Now from where I have purchased this domain, let's say I have purchased this domain from GoDaddy, right? GoDaddy is a place from where I have purchased the domain. So who is GoDaddy now? GoDaddy is my domain registrar. GoDaddy is a place where my domain is registered. It's my domain registrar, right? Now, how can we achieve this? We need to go to Azure Active Directory. In Azure Active Directory, we see a section called as custom domain names. We see a section called as custom domain names. We'll go to this section, custom domain names. When we go to custom domain names, it will give us an option to add the domain. Whatever domain you have purchased or whatever domain you have got, jitin.com, abc.com, test.com, infotech.com, hcl.com, yahoo.com, fabricam.com, whatever domain you have got. Let's say I have got jitin.com. I'll add this domain. As soon as I add this domain here in Azure AD under custom domain names, Azure AD will provide us value for two types of DNS records. Right. So as soon as we do that, Azure AD will provide us value for two types of DNS records. We'll get the value for two types of DNS records. Which DNS record? Text record and MX record. Right. Text record and MX record, we will get the value. So we have got the value for the text record and the MX records. Now what we need to do is from where we have purchased the domain from GoDaddy. So we need to go to godaddy.com. We need to sign in with our credentials. The credentials that I used or that we used in order to purchase the domain, we will sign in with the credential. Once we sign in with the credentials, we would be able to see our domain there, jitin.com, or whatever domain you have purchased. If you have purchased multiple domains, you would be able to see multiple domains over there. So in front of jitin.com, we go to jitin.com and we click on the section called as manage DNS. We would like to manage the DNS of jitin.com. When we go to manage DNS, it gives us an option to add a record. It will give us an option to add a record. Which record we need to add? Maybe we can add a text record. You can either add a text record or MX record. MX record is basically used for the mail exchange. So we can simply add a text record. When we try to add a text record, it says, hey, what's the value for this text record? What is the value for this text record? We have already got the value. When we try to add the domain in Azure AD, Azure AD has already given the value for the text record. So what we can do, we can copy the value from Azure AD and can paste it here. We just need to do a simple copy paste. We will copy it from Azure Active Directory and we will paste it here. Once we put the value, record will be created, or we can say text record will be created. Now we have got the text record. So text record will be created. So here we can say text record will be created. Now we just need to come back here and we need to verify this. Now this whole adding process and verifying process demonstrates that we are the owner of the domain. This whole adding process and verifying process demonstrates that we are the owner of the domain. Right? Once this domain will be added, then we will have two domains. So if you go to custom domain names, you would be able to see two domains there. One domain, which was given to us by Azure, that was v10 jisi outlook.on microsoft.com, and one domain that we have just now added, that is jitin.com. So now if I would like to create the user, abc@jitin.com or xyz@jitin.com, I have two options. Either I can create the user abc at v10jisi outlook.onmicrosoft.com, or I can create the user abc at jitin.com. So both the options will be available. So that is how we would be able to do the customization for the domains. Any questions, any queries, anything guys so far?
No, it's fine.
Wonderful.
I have one question.
Mhm.
So we have custom domain and one which is created by the Microsoft. Booking.com is we bought it from GoTech, right? So how you can link these two things into one Azure area? That is what we are going to see.
How can we link these two domains into one?
In Azure ADA, just I would like to see that how we can interlink these two things. Let's say I have Microsoft.com. I'm part of Microsoft.com. As part of Microsoft.com, whoever is going to part of that employee, they are going to say first name dot last name at Microsoft.com. That is created by Azure AD, right? So that link to our GoDaddy account, right? Is it right or wrong? That is my question.
Are you on speakerphone, sir? Like I'm unable to hear you clearly. Are you on speakerphone?
No, I'm not in speakerphone. I'm not sure. Let me change my source. 1 second. Am I audible now?
Yeah, you're audible. So you're saying that we have got two domains. One is .onmicrosoft.com and one is the
Yeah.
domain that we have added, maybe jitin.com, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, what's the question after that? I was unable to follow after that.
See, as part of who is going to part of the employee of that Microsoft.com, and we are going to create a email ID, right? That email ID we are going to create from our Azure email, right? And how, if you go to Azure, we will get only V10 Outlook on Microsoft.com. How we can, as a user, how we can log into that first name dot last name at Microsoft.com. How that process will in establishment. How we are interlinked with GoDaddy domain name with our Microsoft Outlook AD. That is the
Okay,
question.
if I have understood you correctly, basically you are saying when we will be creating a user, let's say I'm creating a user with the name
Yeah,
user number one. Now, how
yeah,
can we ensure we can create user number one at jitin.com instead of using
yes,
.on
yes,
Microsoft.com, right?
yeah, yeah,
Okay, let me share the answer. See, what happens is, see, you can go to this Azure Active Directory. Right now,
yeah,
if you click on new user, right now, if you click on new user, and maybe you're trying to create a username, let's say user number one. How many
yeah,
options we are getting right now? We are only getting one option. When you click on this
yes,
drop down, you are only getting one option, v10jisi outlook.onmicrosoft.com. No other option we are getting. But
yes,
what will happen? See, if I go back to my Azure Active Directory, if I go to custom domains here, if I go to custom domain names,
okay,
from here we have to first add this domain. Like you can see here, jitin.biz, it's unverified. So what we have to do, I have to add a domain from here, jitin.com. I'll say add this domain.
oh,
When we say add the domain, now it has given us a value for the text record and value for the MX record. This is the value for the
okay,
text record. What I need to do now is, now I need to go to godaddy.com.
okay,
Now I need to go to godaddy.com. Actually, I do not own these domains right now, but let me share the entire process. So now once you go to godaddy.com, you can sign in with the credentials. You can
okay,
sign in with the credentials that you have used in order to purchase jitin.com. So once you sign in, you would be able to see your domain there, right? Once you sign in, see, I have not purchased those domains right now, but once you sign in into your GoDaddy account, you would be able to see this jitin.com domain there.
okay,
In your domain, you have to add this text record. So in
okay,
godaddy.com, you have to add this text record. This value you have to put, this alias name add, this TTL you have to put. You have to add a record. Once you add the record, you will come back here and you will say verify. You will click on this verify
So
button.
this value I need to get it from our GoDaddy.com, right? I need
Right.
to
This
update.
value you need to put into godaddy.com. Absolutely correct. Right. Once you put this value, after that, if you try to validate or you try to verify after 3 to 5 minutes, the verification will be completed. Usually it takes like 3 to 5 minutes, but officially it can take up to 72 hours. Officially, this
So
registration.
here, sorry to interrupt you, but this number at the jetting.com entry, we actually have to make it in the DNS, right?
This number at the jitin.com. No, we don't have to make that entry. In the
Then what
Jitin,
entry we have to do?
yeah, actually the only problem is I don't own any domain right now. See, so when you
Sir,
come here,
let me share. If you want, I can share my domain.
do you have a domain?
Yeah.
Okay, can you share? Yeah, can you share your screen?
One second, let me log in. Actually, one second, let me log in. 1 year back I did that. Let me check. One second.
Sure. So let's, if gentleman owns a domain, let's try to use his domain name, right? Can you share your domain name in the meantime? Let me add your domain name here in my
One
account.
second, this one. Let me see first. I long back I did.
All right.
Long
No,
back. Sorry for that.
please take your time. No problem. Actually, my domain expired, I think 1 month back. Otherwise, I would have shown you this demonstration right away.
Actually, it is good actually if you see this in practical kind of thing.
Yeah. Let me share my domain name. Let me share it. Okay. I'm having it. Now we can share.
You can just put in the chat whatever your domain name is.
Yeah. So they will say performs. That is. One
T
second.
TK Shihabuddin, you have shared your like you have turned on your video if in case.
No, this is Raghav here. One second. Let me share. Okay. Let me start share my screen. Actually, it looks like I'm supposed to disable my attendee screen sharing.
Just give me a moment. Let me allow you to share your screen. Just give me 1 moment. Okay, try to share your screen
This
now.
is
You can share your screen now.
once. Still it shows like that. Okay, this is my name. I'm not sure. Let me say hi to everyone. What is my name?
Yeah, we have got hi from you, Raghavendra. Right.
Yeah, that is my name.
Yeah, can you type your domain name as well?
Yeah, let me try. That's what I'm saying. So my dev sec perf ops. Okay. Let me try.
So guys, what we are going to do is we are going to add the gentleman's domain name in my Azure account. So he will be sharing his domain name here. Right. So his domain name is devsecperfops.in, something like this, right?
Yeah.
Just give me 1 moment, guys. Just allow me 1 moment here.
And actually, Jatin, also you try to register it domain. If further practicals we require this kind of environment, then we request you
I
like
think he went out. I
face.
think so. One second. He went out somewhere. So.
Okay, so I'm going to add the gentleman's domain here. So I'll say add domain. Now when I go to
One
add
second,
domain,
Jitin. I want to share my screen. Even I'm having all options mistake. And before you start, one second.
okay, so I'm just adding this domain. It will hardly make any difference.
Okay.
Now you can share your screen.
No, it is not allowing me to do. I'm using web actually, not app. The browser.
So you're unable to share your screen?
Yeah. See, what I'm getting is you cannot start share while the other participant is sharing.
Okay, I have stopped the sharing. You can share it now.
Entire screen. Yes. This is my dashboard.
Wonderful. So what we have done, guys, I have added the gentleman's domain. I'll just guide you. Just give me 1 moment. Don't click anywhere, Raghavendra. I have added his domain. Now we are into godaddy.com and we can see his domain here is devsecperfops.in, right? Now, Raghavendra, please see on the right hand side. Do you see something? Quick links. Don't click anywhere. Just have a look. Do you see on the right hand side quick links? Scroll down, bit down. On the right. On the right. Yes, yeah. On the right hand side. Do you see
Manage domain.
quick links, forward domain, manage domain? Can you click on manage domain? On the extreme right hand side, you will see, yeah.
Manage domain, yeah.
Click on manage domain.
Yes.
So now we are into managed domains, right? From here, we can do the domain management as the name suggests. See, we can see his domain here, devsecperforms.in. Can you please scroll down a bit? Scroll down a bit. Yeah. On the right hand side, do you see manage DNS? On the right hand side, do you see manage DNS? Click on manage DNS.
Yes.
So we are now clicking on manage DNS, right? Here we can see the records.
Yes.
We cannot display your DNS information because your name servers are not managed by us. So I think you are managing your name servers anywhere else. You are managing them in
I'm
Azure.
using in Azure, yeah.
Right. So you have to create a record there. Otherwise, you would be able to create a record here. Otherwise,
Okay.
if
Can
you
you
would,
let me know, I will do. Let me do. Can you do now?
right.
I need to buy.
So what I'll do, guys, I'll purchase a domain today, and maybe I can show you this tomorrow, like how to add a domain. I will purchase, try
No,
to
if you want,
purchase.
I can do it now, right away.
Yeah, please do it.
No, what did you do? Tell me so that I can do now.
See, your domain is not managed by GoDaddy here. So I think you are managing your domain in Azure. So we need to add a record there.
Okay, so how we can do that one? No, how I can purchase? That is my question. I need to buy it now.
No. Okay, what I'll do is I'll show it to you tomorrow. That's a different process altogether that will bring more confusion. So what I'll do is,
Okay.
see, guys, this is something where we need to go inside the GoDaddy, and from here we would be able to add the domain. I think you have got an idea how to do it. Exactly how to do it, I can show that to you tomorrow or maybe in next week's session. I'll purchase a domain and then I'll try to show that to you. Right?
Okay, no problem.
So what I'll do is,
I have another question. I hope can I speak right? So thing here is, so what we got Azure AD, that is step one, we got it. I want to create another service called Azure B2C also. I want to inherit this user to Azure B2C service, and from there I want to provide access to the applications. If it is external application which is going to be client-based tracing, those things also I need to integrate. So I want to cover this as part of the session. It is possible.
so B2C will try to speak later on. B2C is not a part of this course, but yeah, we can try to share some light on B2C, right? What happens is when we create a new directory, there are two types of directory that we can create. We can either create it as B2B or we can either make it as B2C. So while you are creating a new directory, you can make it as B2C and then you can add the user there. So that user will be a part of that B2C directory.
Okay, but
So
in
what?
typical enterprise, let me tell you, sorry for interrupting here. So typical enterprises, they will create Azure AD, B2B will be there, but after some point of time, they want to provide access to their application to their customers also. That time, they are using Azure B2C. That is
B2C.
what Microsoft says.
Right.
Yeah. So in this case, whoever is going to part of the organization, and by default, they need to get access, right? Without providing user management on this aspect, IAM management or that. So that time, the B2C is going to help us. So my question here is, in this case, in this scenario, how I can inherit all Azure AD existing which is created by the enterprise team, that is IT team, and as application perspective, we want to create Azure B2C. So I want to integrate these two aspects with this actually. That is what my question here. And if you want, we can discuss after some point of time. But one of the things which I would like to know.
Sure. So we'll discuss. So once we have covered directory, then probably we'll try to discuss this a bit, right?
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. So that's how we would be able to add the users from our own domain name, right? So here we will add it. Then we will go to GoDaddy and there we will add the record which is shared to us over here. This is a record we have got over here. We will be adding this record into GoDaddy. Then when we try to create the user after this, once the domain will be verified, right now it is unverified. Once we have added the record in GoDaddy, once we have verified the domain, then we would be able to go to this user section. We would be able to click on this new user. We would be able to go to this user section and we would be able to click on this new user. And here in the drop down, then we will get two domains. One, which is given to us by Microsoft, and the one that we have just now added. So we would be able to see our domain as well over here. That's how we can add the domain. After this, we have got something called as groups, right? After users, the second kind of an identity we can create is groups. Now, groups are of two types. What is the purpose of creating a group? Purpose of creating a group is, instead of, so why we are creating users, so that our users would be able to do something, right? Why we are creating a user? So that our user would be able to do some job that we are going to assign them, right? So that we would be able to assign some roles to these users. Accordingly, they would be able to work, right? Accordingly, they would be able to work. So normally recommendation is, instead of assigning the roles to the users, we should do that to the group. For example, let's say there are 50 users or there are 20 users to whom you want to take care of the backup operations. So instead of assigning role to individual users to do the backup operation, we can create a group. Maybe we can create a backup group or backup operators group. And to that particular group, we can assign that role. Whosoever will be a part of that group will have that role. And when we remove the user from that group, user would no longer be able to perform those roles. So for those purpose, we can create the groups. Groups can be of two types. One is what we called as security group, and one is what we called as M365, which was earlier called as distribution group, which was earlier called as distribution groups. So these groups can be of two types, right? As the name suggests, distribution group is only used for the distribution purposes. For example, let's say you purchased a mobile from Samsung, right? And now you want to share some feedback to the Samsung customer care. What you can do, you can write an email to them, that may be customer.care@samsung.com, right? Customer.care@samsung.com. So you are sending an email to an individual? No, we are sending an email to a group. It is like a distribution group. Same email, it's nothing but a shared mailbox. So same email will be received by multiple users who are sharing that mailbox. I'm sure in the day-to-day life as well, you send an email to distribution list. Sometime in the organization, we create the DLs. So let's say if you're handling a team and in your team you have 15 people, you want to convey some message to all your 15 people, you can create a distribution list or you can create a distribution group, right? If you send an email to that particular group, all the people who are a part of that group will receive that email. So we are using it for the distribution purposes. The first example that we discussed, that instead of assigning a role to a user, we can assign a role to a group. That is something we can achieve with the help of security group. So we can create a security group and we can assign a role to it. Okay. So whenever we create a group, we have two things. We have something called as member and we have something called as owner. Now, who is a member? Member is a part of a group. Who is the owner? Who controls the group? Who can add a member into a group? Who can remove a member from the group? So owner is someone who is controlling the group. Owner may or may not be a part of the group. It is not mandatory that owner will be a part of the group. Owner may be a part of the group. Owner may not be a part of the group. Right? After this, whenever we do the assignment, there are two ways by which we can do the assignment. There is something called as directly assigned. And there is something called as dynamically assigned. Right? There is something called as directly assigned, and then there is something called as dynamically assigned. What is directly assigned? Let's say you are creating the Azure Security Engineer group, right? Maybe you are creating this Azure Security Engineer group. Now there are 500 users in your Azure Active Directory. Out of those 500 users, maybe you want 10 users to be the Azure Security Engineer. So you can pick them up manually. Out of that 500 users that we have got, we are going to pick up 10 users manually, and we will make those users a part of our group. And we will make those users a part of our group. That is the direct assignment we are doing. Directly, we are picking up the users and we are making them a part of the group. In dynamic assign, what we can do, we can write a query, or we can have an expression, right? We can write a query or we can have an expression. Based upon that, user will become a part of the group. We don't have to add the user manually every time. So let's say I am creating a sales group, and I am saying any user whose department is sales should become a part of this group. So maybe in future, if I'm going to add any user, and while creating that user, if I will be choosing the user's department as sales, user will become automatically a part of this group. Or if I have created any user in the past, and while creating those users, if I have selected those users department as sales, those user will automatically become a part of this group. So that is a dynamic assignment we can do. That is a dynamic assignment we can do. Dynamically assigned users we can do. So from where we can see these groups. So if you go here, so where we see users, now here we can see groups. So from here you can say you would like to add a new group. So if you want to add a security group, you can choose security, right? So you can enter the name. Let's say maybe I'm creating a sales group, description, membership type, assigned. Now why it is only assigned? In order for dynamically assign, we need to have a Azure AD Premium P1 or Premium P2 license. When we are creating the Azure AD, even Azure AD has got some licenses. There are 4 types of licenses Azure AD can have. Free license, then we can have O365 license, then we can have Azure AD Premium P1 license, and we can have Azure AD Premium P2 license. With different licenses, the cost will be different. The features we are going to get will be different, right? So for this dynamic assignment to work, we need to have Premium P1 or Premium P2 license. How
Right
can you?
now we are using free license, right?
Yeah, right now we have got free license. So if you go to Azure Active Directory, from here you can validate which license you have got. So if you see right now, I'm having Azure AD free license. This license is Azure AD free. But I think I have one. Yes.
Yeah. For Office 365, license type is 365. So if our company purchase the service of Office 365 from Microsoft, so that they will also require Azure AD, right, for this email ID authentication from on-premise.
Same Azure AD is required. Absolutely. Same Azure AD will be working there.
So in that case, the license will be Office 365 or how it is?
Yeah, in that case, license could be Office 365, could be both, right? So there are different types of Office 365 licenses, well, which can support different features with Azure AD. E1 license, E3 license, E5 license. Now, which Office 365 license you have got, accordingly, it will depend upon. So maybe I can have E5 license and it can support dynamic groups as well. If you have got E3 or E5 license, it can even support dynamic group.
We got your point actually. So there are basic standard, also there are basic standard and enterprise in Office 365 license type, right?
Right. So there are different categories of license in Office 365 as well. And depending upon which license type you are choosing for Office 365, it may or may not support dynamic group. For example, if you go with advanced version of Office 365 license, you would be able to get this dynamic group with that as well.
Okay.
Right. So I have got one more directory. In this directory, I have got Azure AD Premium P2 license. So now if I try to create a group, I can create a dynamic group as well, right? So if I'll say I go to all groups, and maybe I would like to create a new group here. So let's say I'm creating a group with the name sales. Description, I'm creating it for the sales purpose. Membership type. So one is you can directly say assigned. Assigned means we have to pick up the users. So who is the owner? I can say, okay, I can see all my Azure AD users here. Maybe I want this person to be the owner. I want this person to be the owner of this group. Who will be the members? So I can select the members from here. I would be able to see all the Azure AD users and the groups as well. I can see all the Azure AD users and the groups as well. So from here, I would be able to pick up whom I want to make as a part of this group. So let's say I have a user with the name test. I want this user, test user 1, right? I have test user 2, I have test user 3. So what I'm doing, I'm adding these users manually, right? Directly assigned. If I want to make it dynamically assigned, dynamic user, I can make it dynamic user. Who is the owner? I have defined who is the owner. How the members will be added, I can write the query for the same. It says add dynamic query. So I'm adding a query for the same. So what is the query? I'm saying, let's say user department. If the user department is equals to sales, user should become a part of this group, right? So this expression, if the user would be able to meet, it will become a part of the group. We can have multiple expressions. I'm saying user department should be equals to sales and the country of the user should be equals to India. The country of user should be equals to India. Then only user will become a part of the group. So when user will be meeting both the criterias, then user will become a part of this group. Or I can say if user is meeting one of the criteria, so either the user department is equals to sales or the country of a user is equals to India, make him a part of the sales group, right? Up to you, whether you want to meet both the conditions or if any one condition is being met, you want to meet 3 conditions, so you can choose it accordingly. That's how we can make a dynamic group. Any questions before we move forward?
And what about the extensions which you the screen which you show as like
Sorry, what about?
that is extension. Yeah.
When you say extension means?
No, it is there is one option shows. Yeah. Add expression and add custom extension property means.
See, this properties are predefined. Account enabled, object ID, display name. Maybe you want a different property here. Then you can click on this, add custom extension property. So I'm saying user department is equals to or company name is so and so, but maybe you want a different property here. Then you will be going to this custom, get custom extension properties. So here you can enter the application ID and then you would be able to create a rule based upon the same.
So meaning we are once we get enterprise application and who is we want to provide access, then that group needs to be created. In that group, who is going to part of that email IDs needs to come to this dynamic membership. Am I right?
Absolutely, sir.
So
Hello.
in real time, how it is going to happen? So for example, so we have 2 types of things in Azure AD. Uh, one is application, another one is users. So if it is application means how that the best practice we need to follow.
Best practice in terms of what?
So I want to add users to the application, right? So how we need to follow the procedures, like say I have XYZ application which is going to act as Azure AD. Plus, I want to give the maturity of the users, meaning who is going to part of that particular AD, and we cannot provide access to them. There is some certain criteria we need to follow. And how the best practices if application is going to part of any, let's say single sign-on kind of things, right? Then what is our next? I need to know this process how real time will forward.
See, what we have to do in that case is, first of all, the application that we have created, we have to register that application with Azure Active Directory. So you can come here, there is something called as app registrations. You would be able to register your application here. Once you register your application here, your application will start showing in the enterprise applications.
Yes.
Your application will start showing in the enterprise application. So let me see. For example, let's say your application will start showing here. Maybe this Jitin application one. Then when you click on the Jitin application one, from here you will get the option for single sign-on. You will get the option that who would be the users who would be able to access this application. So from here, then these users and groups we would be able to add from here. If you want to enable single sign-on, you would be able to enable single sign-on from here. But this is something which we have not discussed so far, right? But just to
Yeah,
answer your
yeah. So
query,
just I would like to know. That's it. Yeah.
right, right.
Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Yeah, I think one more gentleman has a query. Please go ahead, sir. I think someone else was trying to ask something as well.
Hello. Hi.
Yeah, please go ahead, sir.
Yeah, hi. Hey, one small thing actually. One second. Sorry. If a user will have multiple groups, multiple applications, is that option is there?
Basically, your question is,
Hello.
yeah, basically your question is, can the same user be a part of multiple group? Am I correct?
Yes. Yes.
Answer to that is yes. So maybe same user, he is a part of security group, he is a part of architect group, he is a part of administrator group. Absolutely. Answer is yes. Even one group can be a part of a different group as well. One group can be a part of a different group as well. That is also possible.
So can we assign in that case the same user?
Can we assign same user? I think I'm unable to follow your question. So what exactly we're trying to ask?
Say for example, user XYZ is there, user X is there, and groups are like 1, 2, 3, 4 groups are there. Same user should be identified or should be there in 1, 2, 3, 4 groups.
Absolutely possible. Same user can be a part of multiple group. So I think what you are saying is maybe there is a user with the name, let's say test@jitin.com, right? And you are
Yes.
creating 4 groups, maybe group 1, group 2, group 3, and group 4. And you want the same user to be a part of all the groups. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Absolutely possible, sir. While you are creating these groups, or if you have created these groups already, you can make this user a part of this group. Absolutely possible. Same user can be a part of
And,
multiple groups.
yeah. And second thing is now you are showing how you can able to create a user, how you can able to create a group and all, assigning process and all in a manual process. But when you come to the scenarios, basically, if I want to create 100 users or 500 users, something, in that cases, I cannot do each and every time, right? So is there any possible automation way or how we can able to do it?
Yeah, so what you can do, you can put all these users into one Excel sheet, into one CSV, and then you can do it with the help of PowerShell. So you can add multiple users in same group with the help of PowerShell in a single group. You just need to have that PowerShell script handy, and you can do the automation as well.
Yeah. Okay. So
Right?
could we able to create some kind of test script or something like that so that
Sorry,
coming
can I create what? I'm sorry.
no, the script actually, how we can able to create a script and all, and can you show me in the next session?
I think for that you need to go with the PowerShell course. So probably there you would be able to get that fair idea, right? So one who are working on the PowerShell, or see how to create a basic script, I can show you. Let me show you something. How to add a user in Azure.
No. So why I'm asking this question is, in a real-time scenario, there is a possibility It will come in this kind of scenario.
Mm.
So at least you can provide us it because manual step won't be useful. It might be learning thing good, I believe. But when you go to the real-time scenarios, I don't think manually people won't accept even the projects.
Okay.
At least, so my question is not now itself. Please, when you have time in the next session or coming sessions, at least you can get any kind of script, ready-made script or something like that in your project or something. Just show us.
Yeah, absolutely. So you want a ready-made script? You want me to just run that script, and you want me to show you that how we were able to add a user with the help of that script?
Yeah. Not now itself. Please, Ben, I just want to ask this question. Please go ahead with the current session.
Okay.
Later you can.
Absolutely. So I'll try to get the script, and then probably I'll try to show it to you. How can we add a
That is
user with
good.
the help of our script?
Yeah, that is better actually. Yeah, please.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
All right. Now there is something called as, okay, so we discuss users, we discuss groups. Now after creating the users and the groups, what we will be doing, we will be assigning them some roles. So how can we assign them roles? There are two types of role that we can assign to them. One is what we called as Azure AD roles, and one is what we called as RBAC roles. Like RBAC stands for role-based access control. So first we'll talk about the Azure AD roles. So what are Azure AD roles? The purpose of Azure AD role is to manage the users, or we can say to manage the directory, the Azure Active Directory, right? The purpose of this. Now let's say you have got 500 users. Some popular Azure AD roles are global administrator, password administrator, right? SharePoint administrator, application administrator, and so on. There are a lot of rules. There are a lot of Azure AD roles which are available. Purpose of these rules is to manage the users or to manage the directory. How can we manage the users? Let's say you have got 500 users. So out of those 500 users, maybe to 5 users, we have assigned the password administrator role. So what those 5 users would be able to do? Those 5 users would be able to manage the other rest of the users in terms of their password reset. They would be able to manage the other set of the users in terms of their password reset, right? That is something we can do with the help of password administrator. What the global admin can do, maybe to 5 users you have given the global administrator role. Global admin can do anything. It can create a new user, it can remove a user, it can create a group, it can remove a group, it can assign a license to a user, it can reset the password, it can do the application registration. So global administrator is someone who has got the full control over the directory. They can do anything over the directory. How can we assign these users with these groups? So if you go to your Azure Active Directory, we can go to the users. To these users, we would like to assign these roles. So we can go to these users. Let's say to this test user one, I would like to assign some role. So I can click on this test user one. On the left-hand side, we can see something called as assigned roles. So what roles are assigned to this test user one, or if we want to assign one more role, we can do it everything from here, from this assigned roles. So maybe I can go to this assigned roles. From this assigned roles, maybe we can go to add assignment. So here we can see the option add assignment, and whatever role you would like to assign, you can assign it from here, right? Let's say I would like to assign him password administrator role. So I'll say password administrator, right? At directory level, we are assigning. We can say next, right? And we can say active, and we can say what is the justification, why do we want to activate this? We can provide the reason, and we can say assign. Now if we click on assign, this user will become the password administrator. So now you can go to portal.azure.com, you can sign in with this user, and this user would be able to manage the other users in terms of their password reset. It has become the password administrator. So this user would be able to manage the other users in terms of their password reset. If you
Can we
want to,
check that?
sorry.
Can we see this? Just
I'm
with this. Yeah.
Rajaram, you would like to check this?
Yes.
Yeah. So what I would recommend you is, see, everything like all these small tests would not be possible. So now you know how to assign a password administrator role to a user. Now, if you want me to test it, see, one time
Okay.
probably
Okay.
you can go to
Okay.
portal.azure.com.
Okay. We will check it, and then we will if any case anything
Right,
required, we will.
absolutely. See, that would be a right approach. So what you can do now, you just need to go to portal.azure.com. You need to go to this user. You need to log in with this user, and then you can try to reset. From here, you can reset the passwords. I hope you can see this option here. From here, you would be able to reset the passwords. So you can try to reset the password for the other users, right? So how to log into this account? So maybe you can just sign in with a different account. So you will log in with this account, the one to whom you have given the password administrator role, and then you would be able to test it. So try to test it. If you come across any issues, maybe you are unable to reset the password, then I think we can discuss it. But I hope you would be able to see how to reset the password. So you just need to click on
Yeah.
reset password, and here like this, you would be able to reset the password. So that's how you would be able to make these small tests. Right?
Okay.
Hi, Jitin.
Yes.
On the role assignment, what is the eligible and active assignments?
We will talk about this. See, what happens is
Okay.
there is something called as PIM. It's a good question. So there is something called as Azure AD PIM. Azure AD PIM stands for Privilege Identity Management. It stands for Privilege Identity Management. Let me give you a small basic input regarding the same. Rest we will be discussing it in detail in the upcoming sessions. I'll be demonstrating this as well, how to make use of PIM. See, one option is to one user, I am giving a global administrator role. I'm giving a global administrator role, right? And I'm making this role as active. Now, obviously, this user would not be acting like a global administrator for the entire day, right? This user would not be behaving like a global administrator for the entire day. He might be doing some stuff which doesn't need this global administrator privileges. So to better secure the identities, now let's say for some given reason, if global administrator identity will be compromised, it can have a huge security impact on your directory. So in order to manage or in order to bring better security, what we do, instead of activating this role, we just make this person eligible. We just make this person eligible. He is eligible for the global administrator role, but this role is not activated as of now. Now, let's say in the entire day, he only needs this role for 2 specific hours. So only for those 2 specific hours, he will go ahead and he will activate that role. Only for those 2 specific hours, he'll go ahead and he will activate that role. Earlier, he was acting like a global administrator for the entire 8 hours, which is not that secure, right? So what we are trying to do, we are trying to decrease the surface attack. Whenever he needs to act like a global administrator, he is eligible. He will go ahead and he will activate himself as the global administrator, right? So what we are trying to do, we are trying to decrease the surface attack. I hope it brings you a fair clarity, like what is the difference between
Yes.
eligible and what is the difference between active.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Now, how to achieve this, I'll show that to you, like in the upcoming sessions, how to activate PIM. Now, this PIM, it's a good security feature, but please remember, you would only be able to use this with Azure AD Premium P2 license. It is not available with all the licenses. So this Azure AD PIM would only be available with Azure AD Premium P2 license. Rest, we will be covering this PIM again in the upcoming sessions. So what is the purpose of the Azure AD role? To manage the users and to manage the directory, right? At what level we can assign them? We can assign them at the Azure AD level. At this level, we would be able to assign them. Now, I assign a password administrator role to one user. Maybe you have a requirement in a single go, you would like to assign the password administrator role to 10 users, maybe in a single go. So what you can do for that, you can go to Azure Active Directory. There is something called as roles and administrators. You can go to Azure Active Directory and there is something called as roles and administrators. So you can go to roles and administrators. So you can go to roles and administrator, and from there in a single go, we would be able to assign the same role to multiple users. Let's say I would like to assign the password administrator role. So first of all, I'll click on this password administrator role. This is the password administrator role. From here, whether we want to make him eligible or we want to make people as active. So which users are having this role right now? These two users have this role right now. If we want to assign this role to multiple other users as well, we can say add assignment. And now we can add this role to multiple users in a single go. So from here, maybe I want to assign this role to these two users, let's say to this user, and I just need to click on select. If I say next and assign, in a single go, the same password administrator role will be assigned to multiple people now. In a single go, the same role will be assigned to multiple people. Okay. Now we'll talk about the RBAC role. What is the purpose of RBAC? Purpose of RBAC is role-based access control. Right? What is the purpose? Why do we use this? To manage the resources. When we say resources means who will be managing your virtual machines, who will be managing your virtual network, who will be managing your database, who will be managing your firewall. We all will be controlling with the help of this. We all would be controlling with the help of this. So to manage the resources, we'll be doing this. Some popular, there are a lot of rules. There are a lot of RBAC rules. Some popular RBAC rules are owner, contributor, and reader. There are a lot of rules. Owner is who can do everything, including access. Owner is who can do everything, including access. Contributor is who can also do everything, but excluding access. And reader is who has only got the read-only permissions. Who has only got the read-only permissions. At what level we can assign these roles? We can assign the RBAC roles at a management group level, at a subscription level, at a resource group level, at a resource level, or you can say at a logical architecture, right? So we can assign these roles. We can assign the RBAC roles on a management group level, on a subscription level, on a resource group level, even on a resource level. Please remember, guys, RBAC role is inherent in nature. RBAC role is inherent in nature. If we assign the RBAC role at a management group level, it will automatically become applicable to all the subscriptions, all the resource group, and all the resources. If we assign this role to a subscription level, it will be applicable to that particular subscription, the resource groups, and the resources falling under that particular subscription. Or if we want, we can assign this role to a single resource group. Or if we want, we can assign this role to a single resource. So these are multiple levels where we would be able to assign them. Right? In very less scenarios, you will find out that we will be assigning these roles to a in very less scenarios, you will find out that we will be assigning these roles at a management group level. Although we can do that, but mostly we do it at a subscription level, at a resource group level, or at a resource level. Right? Mostly we do it at a subscription level, resource group level, or at a resource level. So this is how the diagram may look like. So as we discussed, if we do it at a subscription level, it will be inherited down the line. Or if we want to assign it only on, let's say we want to assign only on RG2, then it will be applicable only on RG2 and VNet 1 and VNet 2. Or if we want to do it only on VNet number 2, we can do it only on VNet number 2 as well. For example, let's say you have got two users, maybe user 1 at jitin.com and user 2 at jitin.com. Right? Let's say to this user number 1 at jitin.com, if I assign the owner role at a subscription level. So what I'm doing, to this user number 1 at jitin.com, we are assigning the owner role at a subscription level. It means user number 1 will become the owner of the entire subscription. This user number 1 can go to portal.azure.com. It can sign in with its credentials and it can do any activity at a subscription level. Owner is who can do everything. Everything means he would be able to create a new resource group. He would be able to remove the resource group. He would be able to create a new virtual machine, new database. He would be able to remove that. So it can do everything, including access. Including access means if user number 1 would like to assign a role to user number 2, it can even assign a role to user number 2 as well. It can even assign a role to user number 2 as well. Maybe we want to give him access, but not at the entire subscription level. We only want to give him control only over RG2. We can give him control only over RG2, or maybe we would like to give him control, but only on one particular resource, only on VNet number 2. So we can assign the role only on VNet number 2. Or maybe we do not want to give him complete access. We want to give him contributor role. So contributor is also who can do everything, but excluding access. Means it would not be able to assign a role to a different user. Or maybe we only want to give the read-only access. Then to user number 1, we can assign a reader role. So depending upon which role you assign and at what level you assign, accordingly, user would be able to do the operations. Accordingly.
One question.
Yes, please go ahead.
Suppose user 1 at jitin.com having the contributor role at subscription level and owner role at RG group level. How it will happen?
How it will happen means, okay, how do we assign this?
Yeah, how do we assign, and is it possible to assign this kind of?
Yeah, absolutely possible. See, how do we assign this? So we want to assign first at a subscription level. So first we will go to the subscription. In order to assign a role to a subscription, we need to go to the subscription. Let's say I have got a subscription number 1. See, it is showing disabled right now, but let's say if I would like to assign a role to subscription number 1, we can go to subscription number 1. There is something called as access control, IAM. IAM stands for Identity Access Management. You can click on access control IAM. You can say from here, add the role assignment. So what role we want to assign? We would like to assign which role? At a subscription level, we want to assign the contributor role. So I'll select contributor from here. I'll say next. To which user we would like to assign? To user number 1. Right? Let's say this test user 1. I'll say next. Whatever reason you want to give, and you will say review and assign. When you say review and assign, this user number 1, this test user number 1 will become the contributor at the entire subscription level. Maybe you can say review and assign. So this, say it's failed because subscription is disabled. I showed you the subscription is disabled, but if you click on assign, that's how we would be able to assign the role. Now to same user, you want to assign a owner role at a resource group level. So you can go to resource group, RG1, access control IAM, download, or sorry, add. You can say add the role assignment. Now this time we are assigning a role at what level? At a RG level. And this time maybe I would like to assign the owner role. To same user, maybe test user 1. Right? So at a subscription level, this user will have the contributor role. At a resource group level, this user will have the owner role. That's how we would be able to do this.
One second, Vijay. What is managed identity here?
We'll talk about the managed identity. We haven't spoken about the same. We will talk about the managed identity. Just to give you a reference, what is managed identity? There are two types of managed identity. One is what we called as user assigned managed identity. One is what we called as system assigned managed identity. Right? One is what we called as user assigned managed identity. One we call as system assigned managed identity. Inside a virtual machine, you are running an application. Inside a virtual machine, let's say, since you have asked, we will discuss this in the upcoming sessions. Probably on 4th or 5th week, we will be discussing this. Let's say inside the virtual machine, you're running an application, and this application need to access the database. Now, how will this happen? With the help of manage identity, you would be able to give the access to this virtual machine on this database. So here there is no user who's trying to access a database. There is an application who's trying to access a database, right? Just like we used to have service accounts. So what we will be doing with the help of manage identity, we would be able to give the access to this virtual machine onto this database. So there manage identity would be able to play a role, right? So here we are not giving access to one user or to a group. We are giving an access to one resource over another resource. And we can achieve that with the help of manage identity.
Okay, so I want to enable, okay, I got it. So everything is driven by the manager identity, which is driven by us. Whatever identity they have defined, like how we have role-based access, like contributor role, owner role kind of things we are having.
Right. See, we can assign these RBAC roles to the user, to the group, to the service principal, even to the manage identity. So what we can do in this case, let's say I have created a manage identity one. To this manage identity one, I will give the contributor access on the database. To this manage identity one, I will give the contributor access on this database. And this manage identity one, I will associate this with the virtual machine. So with the help of this manage identity, this virtual machine would be able to access the database. That is how it plays a role.
So any application specific, we need to use manage identity, right?
There are two things. One is we can use manage identity. One is we can use service principal as well. There is something called as service principal. When you are working within Azure, then you can make use of manage identity. But let's say the scenario is entirely different. This application is running in on-prem. One scenario is this virtual machine we are running in Azure. With the help of manage identity, we can achieve it. But what about this virtual machine we are running in on-premise? The application is running in on-premise. Database is in Azure. Then manage identity would not be helpful here. Then here we will make use of service principal. Then with the help of service principal, we would be able to give access. That is the reason I
similar
said.
question, if we want to integrate from Azure DevOps to Azure, that time also we need to use service principal.
That time also we need to use service principles. Absolutely correct. Then also we make use of multiple service principles, right?
So what we need to understand here is, apart from Azure, whatever service we are going to access, that time we need to use service principal.
Right.
Within Azure, we need to use manager.
Absolutely correct.
Within one more query, why we assign the role at VNet level? Use case means like, do we need to assign this kind of role for network engineer, or how it is?
Absolutely. So maybe you have some network engineers and you only want to give access to the virtual networks. Maybe those network engineers has nothing to do with the virtual machines or nothing to do with the database. So to what user, what level of access you would like to give? That is, you are managing with the help of this RBAC. Maybe there are 3 engineers who just need to manage the database. So you will be giving access only on database. They do not need to manage any network. So it's always recommended to follow a principle of least access. If you only want to give role on a given service, on a given resource, then give it only on the given resource. And also follow the principle of least access. If reader role is required, just give him reader role. Do not give him contributor role. If contributor role is required, give him contributor role. Do not give him owner role. So we should always follow a principle of least access. Does that answer your query?
And in best practices, we need to provide access to the groups, not to the individual users. That is what we need to follow, right?
See, RBAC roles you cannot assign to the groups.
Okay.
Azure AD roles we can assign to the groups. Purpose of RBAC role to manage the resources. Purpose of Azure AD role is to manage the users, manage the groups, and manage the directory. So Azure AD roles you will be assigning to the groups.
Okay. There is no groups concept in RBAC. Right?
No, here we have like resource groups. You can assign it to resource groups, or you can assign it to subscriptions, or you can assign it to management.
It's all predefined rules in the RBAC, right?
In RBAC, there are predefined rules. You can create your custom rules as well.
Oh, okay.
You may create your custom rules as well. That is also possible. But there are a good number of rules. Mostly you would be able to achieve it with the help of predefined rules. But if you want to create a custom rule, that option is also available.
So how it is happening in the big organization, like very big environment? So like it's Azure engineer will have to access on deploy the VMs and network will be on VNet, such kind of architecture, right?
Mm-hmm. So how it will
So
be
this
happening on the big organization means?
suppose where there is very big project in the Azure, big company, and they want to restrict that only network engineer will have the access to VNet, and the Azure engineer who is deploying the VMs in this subscription, so he will have the VM level access, deployment level access only. Such kind of things happening there in
Absolutely.
big setup.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Same things will be happening here. See, when you go to this roles, there are a lot of roles. For example, let's say you want to give some sort of a role on the virtual machine. So if you click on add a role assignment, which role you would like to assign? Owner, contributor, reader, these are some popular roles. Let's say you want to assign a specific role for a virtual machine. Maybe you can type virtual machine. See, there are a lot of roles. This is desktop virtualization contributor of desktop virtualization. Maybe you want to give someone to access only for the virtualization, reader for the desktop virtualization application group, right? Desktop virtualization reader. So there are many roles based only for the virtual machines. For example, let's say you only want to give virtual machine user login role to some user. View virtual machines in the portal and log in as a regular user, right? So there are different roles. Accordingly, we would be able to assign.
Okay, Jatin, thank you.
Then I have one question with respect to dev test actually. What does mean
Sorry,
dev
with
test?
what
Dev test. Yeah, dev test lab user.
Dev test lab, it says lets you connect, start, restart, and shut down your virtual machines in your Azure Dev Test Labs. In Azure DevOps, you have an option for the Azure Dev Test Labs as well. If you have worked in the Azure DevOps, in Azure DevOps, there is something called as Dev Test Labs. Basically, we use this Dev Test Labs in order to create the environment quickly so that we would be able to decrease the cost. So who would be able to control those dev test labs? We are defining it here. These users would be able to control those dev test labs. I hope you can see here, this is for the DevOps people. This role is basically for the DevOps people. So in Azure Dev Test Labs, if you are creating any virtual machines, maybe for some project, who would be able to create them, who would be able to shut down those machines, who would be able to restart those machines, that is something. For those purposes, we can assign the Dev Test Lab users role. Does that answer your query, sir? It's very costly. Azure Dev Test Labs is very costly.
Oh, really? Okay, I thought it's cheap. Okay.
No, it's a very costly solution. Basically, with the help
Thank
of
you.
it's a kind of a service with the help of which the developers that working on the project would be able to manage the virtual machines. Right? They would be able to self on their own. They would be able to manage the virtual machines without any approval and all this part. But it's a costly solution. Many less number of organizations are going with the same.
Using. Okay. Thank you.
Very costly. You're welcome, sir. Now there is something called as locks as well. There is something called as locks. What is the purpose of lock? To avoid accidental deletion. So with the help of lock, we would be able to avoid accidental deletion. What is accidental deletion? Let's say user number 1 and user number 2, both of them have got the owner role at a subscription level. User 1 and user 2, both of them have got the owner role at a subscription level. Let's say user number 1 created a database. Maybe user number 2 logged in after 5-7 days and he removed the database by mistake. So what happened? Accidental deletion happened. How can we prevent this accidental deletion? With the help of locks. With the help of locks, we would be able to prevent this accidental deletion. Locks are of two types, read-only lock and delete lock. These are two types of lock. At what levels we can apply the lock? We can apply the lock at a subscription level. We can apply the lock at a resource group level, and we can apply the lock at a resource level. So locks cannot be applied at a management group level. So these are the three levels where we would be able to apply the lock. Locks are also inherent in nature. If you apply the lock at a subscription level, it will automatically be applicable to all the resource groups and all the resources. If you apply the lock only on one resource group, it will be applicable to that resource group and the resources under it. Or if you want, you can only apply a lock on one particular resource. There are two types of lock. Let's say we applied a delete lock on subscription number 1. We put a delete lock on subscription number 1. If I put a delete lock on subscription number 1, and after that, if we try to remove something, delete something, we try to delete RG1, RG2, VM1, VM2, VNet1, VNet2, we would not be able to delete anything. So no delete operation can be performed. We would not be able to delete anything. So no delete operation can be performed. But if we try to make any write changes, we would be able to do the write changes. Maybe we would try to create one RG3, we will try to create VM3, we would be able to do that. So no delete operation can be done, but write operations can be done. On the other hand, if I apply a read-only lock, after applying a read-only lock, if I try to delete something, if I try to delete RG1, RG2, VM1, VM2, VNet1, VNet2, we would not be able to delete anything. No delete operation can be performed. But if we try to make any write change, let's say we try to create RG3, we try to create VM3, we would not be able to do that. So no delete operation can be performed and no write operation can be performed as well. No delete operation can be performed and no write operation can be performed as well. Okay. Any question, any query, anything guys so far?
Nothing yet.
That is all for my end for today, right? If you have any questions, please feel free to ask, or else we will continue tomorrow.
Jitin, so as we discussed, right, and I hope we need some best practices which enterprise might be there following up. And do we have any ready-made documents where how the Azure AD can be managed, how user management can be like kind of process or checklist. As part of security, we need to do some audit, right? So as part of audit, what are things we need to follow when we are into the auditing part? For Azure AD level, what are things we do?
Basically, you need the best practices that we need to follow, right?
Yes, yes.
Let me try and check if I can arrange some documents for the same. I'll try to share those documents, right? Some best practices for what we can follow for the Azure AD.
How to what are the best practices and how to like implement it, like kind of.
Absolutely. So let me check if I can find some documents for the same. We'll try to share them with you, right?
So tomorrow we are going to look at how a custom domain can be added and how we can create user to the custom domain, and then we need to link the custom domain with our application. Right? So like that, we are going to look at what is the tomorrow's coverage. Any idea?
Right. So I'll try to purchase a domain today. If I would be able to do so, I'll try to show you tomorrow how can we create a user in the custom domain. If not, then probably on next week, I would be able to show you that. So I'll try to purchase it. Sometime what happens is domains are very costly. So over a period of time, we would be able to get them at an economical rate.
See,
I'll try
in
to.
this case, please let me know, Jitin. So I will also try to help you out because I'm having it already domain. If there is any way you can do, please let me know. I can also help you.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't worry. What I like, my domain expired only last month only. I did not purchase it again. I'll purchase it and I'll show that to you. Don't worry about it.
Namecheap is a Namecheap is also one service like GoDaddy,
Yeah,
and they are
Namecheap.
giving
Yeah,
very cheapest.
Blue.
Yeah, they are
Yeah,
giving
Namecheap
cheapest,
is also a good domain provider, right? So we can get it
cheaper
from,
actually.
yeah, cheaper, or you can say economical, right? So Namecheap. I think there is something called as Blue Star, something like this as well. So there are multiple providers, but usually I get it from like GoDaddy. So I'll try to do that from GoDaddy or Bluehost. So there is something called as Bluehost as well. So we can get from there as well. I'll try to purchase one today. Like I need it for my testing as well. So I'll purchase it and then we'll try to show that to you.
Okay.
All right, guys. So have a good rest of the day. Take care. Stay safe. We'll connect tomorrow
We
and
will
we'll take it
get
further.
notes also, right? We will get notes and the screenshots also.
Yeah, I'll be sharing the recordings. Absolutely. I'll share that all with you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, everyone. Stay safe.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
Jatin, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.